I'm Shannon Ireland, your host of a Healthy Push podcast. I struggled with anxiety, panic disorder, and agoraphobia for 15 years. Everything used to be hard for me. Even just driving 5 minutes from my house used to feel impossible. But now I absolutely live for travel and adventure, and I experience lots of peace and joy. I've not only reclaimed my life, but I've helped hundreds of others to do the same. Here, we stop managing anxiety and instead we create a healthy relationship with it. One where you say goodbye to the anxious thoughts, symptoms, panic attacks, and fears, and you actually live your life. Forget complicated strategies, quick fixes, or the same old hacks you've heard 100 times before. Each week, I'll bring you simple, actionable advice and honest conversations that lead to real, long-term healing. You aren't just an anxious person, my friend. There are reasons why you're struggling with anxiety, and these are things you can fix and heal from. And this is where that journey begins. Welcome. You're right where you're meant to be. Hello, and welcome back to a Healthy Push podcast. So today we're going to talk about everyone's favorite subject, avoidance. But we're going to talk about avoidance in a way that you're probably not expecting. I think when most people hear avoidance, they think about avoiding places, avoiding situations, avoiding activities, like really specific things, right? Like not driving on the highway, not going to the grocery store, not traveling. But what I see all the time and what keeps people really stuck for months or even years or longer is something much quieter. It's the avoidance of feeling. And this is the biggest reason why I struggled with anxiety, panic, agoraphobia for 15 years. I massively wanted to avoid feeling, and I had been doing it for a very long time. And it just kept me on that cycle. And I don't want you to continue on this cycle of avoidance of feeling because it will continue to cause you to stay stuck. It will continue to shrink your world and it will continue to take away your self trust and your confidence and your motivation, like all of the things needed to recover. So let's talk about avoidance. When people come to me for coaching, they usually tell me what they've been avoiding externally, which makes so much sense. But once we start talking, it becomes really clear that what they've been avoiding is very internal. It's sensations, emotions, uncertainty, the possibility of panic. And the tricky part is most people don't even realize they're doing it. And they've been doing it for a long freaking time. This was true for me. I think in some ways I could recognize avoidance, but in a lot of ways I could not because emotional avoidance doesn't look so obvious. It really looks like coping. It looks like managing. It looks like sometimes being even responsible, like quote responsible and prepared. But emotional avoidance is a huge reason why so many people continue to experience so much anxiety and why they stay so stuck and why they're on that roller coaster of ups and downs. Like, I'm better, I'm not better, I'm better, I'm not better. When we have so much emotional avoidance, it makes things so hard. So, what it can actually look like is avoiding feeling by maybe constantly checking and scanning your body. Like, oh, am I feeling anxious? Am I going to feel it? Is it here? Or distracting yourself the moment anxiety shows up, or needing reassurance, and especially needing it before you do anything. It can also look like staying really busy so you don't have to slow down and feel. This was very true for me. I think such a big coping mechanism that I see with so many people is you constantly stay busy. You are not going to let yourself slow things down because if you do, you know that there are going to be feelings. So you might be doing all the things like you're working, you're doing errands, you're going out with friends, you're being really productive, you're doing all this stuff just in an effort to not have to feel. Or another way it shows up is that you're telling yourself, I'll do that once I feel calmer I'll do that thing once I feel more confident. I'll do that thing once I feel more ready. And over time, what happens is that your life becomes really organized around not feeling certain things, not around what you want, what's important to you, right? Not around what matters to you, but it all becomes about keeping anxiety and panic and discomfort or uncertainty at bay. And I have to validate this, right? Like, this avoidance makes so much sense. It is really not a failure. Like, your nervous system has learned that certain sensations or emotions or feelings feel unsafe. If panic felt really terrifying, if anxiety felt really overwhelming, if you didn't know how to be with those sensations, of course your system learned to avoid them. And you probably have a lot of these coping mechanisms and all these ways that you try to manage it. And it's not weakness. Really, truly, that's survival. But of course, we can't continue to live in this place where we're constantly trying not to feel, right? You got to push back a little on that fear because otherwise you will stay incredibly stuck. There is such a cost of avoiding feeling. And you can't really often see it when you're in it. I know I couldn't. I feel like I could feel the weight sometimes and I could recognize it. Like, it sucked because I knew, like, I was avoiding a lot and I wanted my life to be bigger and I wanted my life to be fuller, but I didn't want to push myself to feel that level of discomfort, right? I didn't want that possibility of panicking. I didn't want any of the hard stuff. But avoiding feeling comes with such a cost. So, I want to talk about a few ways in which it costs you because it's really important to recognize these things. And this is not to like make you feel bad or shame you, but it's to bring some awareness into the picture because you've got to be aware of your behaviors, your actions, so that you can push back on these things and start to make some healthy shifts. So, the first cost, right, is that your nervous system really learns you're never safe. Like, every time you avoid a feeling, your brain might get that short term relief, that relief that we get in the moment that's like, oh, thank goodness. Like, I'm so glad you didn't do that. Or we got out. Like, that was dangerous. I'm so glad that we feel better. And this relief that you get can be really dangerous because it's honestly kind of addicting. Like, of course, you want to feel better. Of course, you want to avoid the feelings because it, in the moment, allows you to feel a little bit better. But instead of anxiety shrinking, it starts to spread. More sensations start to feel threatening, more emotions start to feel risky, more places and situations start to feel more tricky and harder. And it can start to feel like anxiety is now popping up anywhere and everywhere. This is something I hear really commonly, like, Shannon, it didn't used to pop up when I was doing this, or it didn't used to pop up in this place. And I'm like, yeah, well, this is just what anxiety is going to do. It's going to continue to branch out because you're constantly avoiding, and your brain is constantly getting this message that the feeling is dangerous. So it doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing, like, anxiety likely is going to pop up and start popping up in new places because of that. Your nervous system really learns to stay in this protection mode, and it learns anxiety is dangerous and you can't feel it anywhere, which of course is not true. But our actions and our behaviors really affect how our nervous system responds, right? So, this is a huge cost. Another cost, and this is such a massive one, is that you lose trust in yourself. When you spend months or years avoiding certain internal experiences, you slowly stop trusting that you can handle them. You might think things like, if I feel that again, I am not going to be able to handle it. I won't be able to cope. I'm going to lose all control. Or I won't be okay. I won't be able to handle it. I'm going to spiral. Things are going to get really bad. And these beliefs, more than the anxiety itself, is what keeps people stuck. I say this all the time because it's so freaking true. And it's so much of the work that I do with my students. A huge piece of recovery is about building self trust back. because you have, of course, lost a bunch of self trust. And it's okay. It makes sense. Self trust can be built again. And when you focus on this and you really do the work to build more self trust, things start to become less hard, less scary. Like the sensations and symptoms become less scary. You can grow your tolerance, you can grow your capacity. You can allow yourself to actually feel and to face things without spiraling and without thinking, oh my gosh, I can't do this. This is so bad, right? I can't handle this. This one comes at such a massive cost, right? Because when you are operating from a place of distrust within yourself and your body, you have really little belief that you can handle things. You have really little motivation. You have really little confidence, and you need this stuff to recover. Okay, the next cost, and this is also a really big one, life gets small without you even really noticing it. Like this one can be really sneaky because sometimes you can still be doing a lot. Like you can still be working, parenting, socializing, but everything sort of has conditions. Like as long as I don't feel a certain way, as long as I don't feel anxious, as long as I get enough sleep, as long as I know I can escape, as long as I know I have somebody with me, as long as I know I can feel in control. And slowly your world gets smaller, but it's not because you're not capable. It's really because you have been teaching yourself that feeling certain things isn't allowed. It's not okay. Or maybe for you, you've pulled back so much and have created so many restrictions and limitations that you're really not doing a lot of the things that you once were. Maybe you were not working, or maybe you're working from home, or you're going into the office less, or maybe you've pulled back a lot and you're not really socializing and you're doing more isolating. And again, no shame here because it makes sense. You want to pull back. You don't want to do the things that are going to cause you to feel. But pulling back, right, creating all these restrictions and limitations really does shrink your world. And when you start doing this, it's kind of like that wheel that you can't get yourself off of. You're like, oh, I don't really need to go here. I don't really need to do that. I don't need to push. And that can be a really sticky place. Okay, the next cost, and this is the last one that I'll mention, and I want to dive into some more stuff, but this is one that often I hear and people don't quite understand, but a huge cost is exhaustion, right? Avoiding feeling is so exhausting. I hear this a lot. Like people will tell me, I am so freaking tired, Shannon. Like I have no motivation. I have no energy. I'm tired as soon as I wake up. I don't want to do anything. And they think it's because anxiety is ruining their life. And partly, yes, I get that, but often it's because they've been working so hard to not feel by doing the things like scanning and managing and preparing. All of that stuff is so freaking exhausting. If you are constantly trying to prevent yourself from feeling, you are going to be inundated with feelings, and that takes such an emotional toll and then takes a physical toll on your body. The exhaustion you can feel from struggling with anxiety and panic and fear and all the things is so real. Like it does take such a toll on your body and the stress alone, right? It makes sense. So let's do some reframing. You know, I love reframing, and I don't want you to continue to struggle and be in this cycle of avoidance. So, avoidance doesn't just keep anxiety alive, it really teaches your nervous system that feelings are dangerous. Not situations, not places, feelings. And as long as your life is organized around not feeling, freedom is always going to feel just out of reach. So here's the piece I wish somebody would have like shook me and really instilled in me. Recovery doesn't require you to get rid of anxiety. This is something I did not understand for a while. You know, when I was struggling, I truly believed the goal was to get rid of anxiety and like feel calm first. And then I could live my life. And then I could do the things that I really wanted to do. You know, I convinced myself anxiety was the problem. And if I could just control it, eliminate it, outrun it, everything else would be okay. Everything would fall into place. And this is something that I commonly hear from my students is like, if I could just get rid of this symptom, if I could just get rid of the fear of the panic attacks, if I could just get rid of this, then everything would be okay. And I'm like, oh, no, no, no. But I totally understand. So when you really think and convince yourself that anxiety is the problem, you do a lot of things that are unhelpful. And you might be doing some of these things. You try to manage it, you try to throw all the things at it, you try to outthink it, you try to avoid anything that might trigger it, especially the feelings themselves. Panic felt so freaking unbearable to me, so freaking terrifying. Like that tingling rush that I would feel all throughout my body, the instant sweating, the dizziness, the oh shit, something is wrong feeling. Like I was terrified of experiencing that again. And what I didn't realize at the time was that my entire life had become organized around not feeling those sensations, not around what I wanted, not around freedom. Everything was about avoidance. And I was not weak. I was not failing, like, same for you. I just didn't know how to be with my feelings. So my nervous system did what it knew how to do, and it tried to protect me from them. And what actually shifted things for me wasn't learning how to make anxiety disappear. It was learning that I could experience those uncomfortable feelings and I had the capacity and I could still be okay. I could still be safe. It's something I always say that's so important is the work you do when you recover from anxiety is really showing yourself you are your safe place. You've always been your safe place, but some things have happened, right, to convince you otherwise. And we need to build that back. So I had to show myself, right? I could feel the anxiety, I could feel the panic sensations without needing to escape or fix or control them. Like the feelings themselves, as uncomfortable and awful as they were not dangerous. And this is the part that I really want you to hear. I didn't do this work because I was like suddenly braver or ready. And it wasn't because I had like more willpower and it wasn't because I had something special. Like it was just a skill, something that I had to practice. And it was hard, but it was so incredibly worth it. I didn't become somebody who doesn't feel anxiety. I slowly became someone who knew how to respond differently to anxiety when I showed up. And that changed everything for me. And it wasn't overnight, and it definitely wasn't perfectly, but it was in a real lasting way. So if you've been telling yourself, other people can do this, but I can't, right? Shannon's an exception. I'm so bad. My anxiety is so bad. I want you to gently question that because most of the people you see living freely did not get rid of their feelings first. They didn't get rid of the anxiety, they didn't get rid of the fear, they didn't get rid of the unknown or the discomfort. They really learned how to stop letting those feelings run the show. And that's where recovery actually begins. Not with forcing, not with pushing through the terror and the panic and the like making yourself have panic attacks, but with learning how to stay present with what shows up and slowly rebuilding that trust with yourself again. So, this is where I want to tell you about another live mini course week with me that I'm doing. Back at the beginning of the year in January, I did a mini course week with me all on driving anxiety, and it was so freaking amazing. We met every single day and we talked about driving anxiety and how to overcome it. And so I'm going to do another one of these live mini course weeks with me, and we're going to talk all about avoidance and how to stop avoiding and how to start taking confident steps toward freedom in a way that doesn't feel shitty and doesn't cause more anxiety and just make you feel like, oh my God, I can't do this. Because the thing is, most people know avoidance is the issue, but they don't know how to move forward without overwhelming themselves even more. This week, just like my anxiety week wasn't, it's not going to be about pushing harder. It's not going to be about getting rid of fear first. It's really going to be about learning how to take small, intentional steps, even when the feelings are there, and building that trust with yourself again. So I think signups are going to start March 30th. If you have interest in this, if you know avoidance is part of the mix, you really want to tackle it, you have these big hopes and dreams, you want life to look so freaking differently, I want you to get on my email list. I will let you know as soon as the doors open to this. This is going to be such a valuable week full of just guidance and support to help you work through avoidance in a helpful way. Okay, I want to end with this. If you've been avoiding feeling for a long time, I want you to hear me. It's okay. It makes a whole lot of sense. There are probably so many reasons why you've been avoiding feeling. Maybe you weren't taught how to feel, right? Maybe it wasn't safe for you to feel. Maybe you saw things, right? And you have these learned behaviors. Whatever it is, it's okay. You are not broken. You're not behind. You're not beyond recovery. But this avoidance, this cost of avoidance really adds up. And at some point, we have to look at this and start doing things differently because it truly starts costing more than the fear itself. I always say you got to choose your hard. Recovery is hard. Creating a healthy relationship with anxiety is hard. Letting it in, feeling is hard. But so is living in a constant state of fear and avoidance. You are far, far more capable than you give yourself credit for, and you deserve to see how capable you are. So, as hard as it is, I want you to take one little step, one push, right? Okay, until next time, keep taking healthy action. I hope you loved this episode of A Healthy Push. If you have, I'd be so grateful if you could leave me a rating and review wherever you're listening to this podcast. This helps people to find the show and get the support they need. And if you know someone who could use a little push, be sure to share this episode with them. And for even more support, head over to ahealthypush.com for show notes and loads of tips, tools, and inspiration to help you on your recovery journey. I'll see you next week.